What do you give someone who already has it all? That's the subject of a new article on CBSNews.com. The article takes a look at some of the gifts received by U.S. Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross, which CBS News got a look at through a public records request. Now, Ross is a self-described billionaire, although Forbes has reported that he is actually worth about less than $700 million, but who's counting? He's a pretty rich guy. CBS News radio correspondent Steve Dorsey has been reporting on this and joins us now. So, Steve, I got to look at the list, and so I'm going to ask you, what were some of your favorites?
Well, this is the list right here, Anne-Marie. It details the gifts that Ross received as Secretary of State from February 2017 all the way through the last half of 2018. And here's some things that point out. 2006 vintage Dom Perignon, 24 avocados, a Romania gold coin, a gold figurines, a gold box, a King James version of the Bible in large print for the 81-year-old.
Right.
He also received a thumb drive with Secretary Ross's speech and some other ceremony highlights from Tenoris Day, in case he forgot what he said, to this company that builds pipes and pipelines for the oil and gas industry. So it tells us a lot about not only the gifts that he received, some of which appear to be high value, but also perhaps who may have sent them.
Now, how could you not include chocolate made from camel's milk? I thought for sure that would be the first one that you mentioned. So speaking of who sent them, because that's really the key here. I mean, some of this stuff, I don't know what the value would be, but is this stuff, you know, where's it coming from? Is it coming from governments? Are these sort of official government gifts, or what's the scenario?
Well, here's the problem, Anne-Marie. The Commerce Department, through our public records request, didn't detail the value of these items and also who these items came from. We have to guess, really, through the descriptions. And some of them are pretty obvious, including a book about the ambassador to Mexico's family history. Another was from AmCham, the American Chamber of Commerce, that gave Ross a crystal business card holder. We also know that the Royal Thai Embassy in Washington gave him a glass-encased elephant with personalized label. So there are some hints as to which foreign governments, including others in China, in South Korea, in Canada, sent gifts to Secretary Ross and perhaps could have tried to curry favor with him.
So does he get to keep this stuff?
Well, some of the lower-priced items he does get to keep, but the Commerce Department tells me that the higher-priced items, including, I imagine, the Chivas Royal Whiskey, the Dom Perignon, the gold figurines, are appraised and then auctioned off. The problem, however, is the Commerce Department doesn't say which of those items have been auctioned off and how often he refuses items or buys it himself or donates it.
So the question is, it's certainly entertaining to see what sort of gifts one would offer to him, but the real issue is a matter of who's trying to curry favor, and are there some sort of ethical concerns here, right?
Exactly. So public ethics and financial advocates, including those from the group in Washington, Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington crew, says these could pose a conflict of interest, especially if they're high-value items, and the Commerce Department doesn't say what it does with these items. Does it keep them? Does it store them somewhere? Does it donate them? What did the Secretary do in exchange, if at all, for these gifts? The Commerce Department says it's routine for the Secretary to visit embassies of foreign governments and bring a gift, but we don't know what was done in exchange for that, although it appears most of these gifts are in line with federal gifting limits. I do want to say, however, Anne-Marie, that the Secretary has come under criticism, including from here in the Senate, from members of his own party who have raised concerns about inaccuracies and conflicts of interest, disclosures in keeping with the law. Of course, we may remember back a few months ago during that federal government shutdown, Ross was criticized as being out of touch by suggesting that furloughed federal workers simply get out a bank loan to pay for their bills if they don't have a paycheck.
Right. How could we forget that? And so this is in regards to the discrepancy between how much he says he's worth versus what some of the numbers are indicating. And you know, people could sort of argue, what difference does it make? But it does make a difference.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't make a difference because we want to know where he got his money,
Right.
where he may be continuing to get his money. And this could be another issue of how transparent Ross has been with lawmakers here on Capitol Hill, but also public members of the public and public officials. Because although we have this list right now of gifts, it took about 8 to 9 months just to get it. And it's missing key information like the value of these gifts, what happened to them, who sent them. And that's all questions certainly public, financial, and ethics advocates want to know.
Yeah, definitely. Steve, thank you so much.
Thanks, Anne-Marie.
Camel's milk chocolate. You can check out Steve's full article on CBSNews.com. And you can also hear more about this on CBS News Radio.